Hello, I'm Vance Willis, and welcome to this week's episode of The Techies. The Techies is a new show that we're trying out, and it's about technology. We have guests that will join us, and stick around, and let's see what we talk about this week. So, on this week's show, I'm joined by a good friend and colleague, Mr. Mark Johnson. So, Mark, welcome to the Techies. How are you today?
Hey, I am doing great, and thank you very much for inviting me on the very first sort of Alpha 0001 edition of the Techies. I think this is a great idea of yours, and I think this is something that that people will enjoy, and we'll mold it to what people want us to talk about, right?
Exactly. And one of the big things every week is, did you press record? And yes, we did press record in the beginning. So things are off to a good start. But thanks for joining. So this week we have a couple of things that we would like to discuss, and just some general stuff that we found. Now, Mark, I believe this week there was a new device that was released out of Europe, and it was called everyone's calling it the Raspberry Pi, I guess because like an apple pie, but I think it's actually spelled Rapsberry Pi. What kind of information do you have on that?
No, well, it is the Raspberry Pi. It's actually had a lot of press coverage over here, an awful lot of press coverage, and it's been designed by basically some scientists, I guess, and engineers who were getting sort of fed up that kids were coming out of schools and not really understanding, much about computers. And this is something I have heard from people in the computer industry as well. I had lunch with some very good friends who run a computer company in just outside London, and they said that they get, lots of IT graduates applying to them for jobs, and they've had to devise their own simple sort of test to give people before they interview them, because the majority of students that they see who come out of college with IT qualifications don't know fairly basic things. And I think this is all related to the fact that the syllabuses I think they've gone away from programming, they've gone away from, getting to behind how things work. And so I think these engineers are seeing the same thing, and they've come up with this very cheap, very affordable little computer, which is around $30, $35. You plug in an HDMI, keyboard and mouse. You can plug in a monitor to it. You can add memory, and I believe they have sold near close to 1 million units within 48 hours of it launching. Put it this way, I'm on the wait list.
Right. Well, so I tried to get on myself, and I've got it up on the screen now. We can take a look at it. I understand this thing's about the size of a credit card or deck of cards in physical size, and I believe there are two different models. Is that correct? I think one has network ability, and the other one does not. Is that correct?
Yeah, and their seller version, at least here in the UK, which comes with a keyboard and mouse and some additional RAM, and there's an add-on kit of accessories. So the idea behind this is that people get to see a bit of electronics. I mean, eventually, I think we'll see these used in all sorts of things, and I think companies will probably end up buying them and putting them into products, and so people won't even know that they're running a Raspberry Pi behind the scenes. And they put them into schools. They're doing programming. It runs different versions of Linux, and it is fast enough, so they say, to be able to run 1080p video. And it is, I think, this takes me back to I built a computer called the Acorn Atom, which sort of the predecessor of what became known as the BBC Micro. It was just fun, for young people experimenting. There is no reason really why nearly every kid can't have one of these to play around with. And I think it's going to be great for computing, and it's going to be great for engineers because the UK, at least, I think, like a lot of country, needs more engineers.
I agree. We see kind of the circuit board layout. Looks like it's got an SD card, power adapter, HDMI out. It's got 256 meg of RAM built on. I think that's composite video. Is that correct? Composite video, audio, USB, and like we said, is it 10 pound? I think it's a 10 pound upgrade to get the land connector on there. I believe. I think it's different between that. So do you actually have one? You say on order. You've pre-ordered one. Were you able to get through? Could you get through to the website?
Now over here they are. In the UK there are two companies, which is RS Components and Farnell. They are big companies who are probably the major distributors of electronic components in the UK, and they both had them. Both of their websites were basically unavailable on was it Wednesday? Wednesday it launched, and I tried to get onto the Farnell website and just couldn't get through. And so now when you go, they say, are you interested? Click here, and you can just express interest for when they'll get their next supply of orders. Now there is a great website, and I'm not sure if you've come across it, Vance, and that's called element14.com. And this is a group of engineers who have put this together. And it's not just about the Raspberry Pi, but it's a great sort of resource for people who want to experiment and dabble with computers. And we were just talking very briefly pre-show about, well, what does element 14? So what is the 14th element? And we should have known, because the 14th element in the periodic table is silicon.
Yep, we should have known. Yes, we should have. I have not run across that. I hope to check it out later on today. So that'll be good. But so super small PCs, everything we see. We do a show on studiotech.tv every week, and we are always talking about the miniaturization of everything that we deal with. So now there are television trucks have been reduced to the size of a suitcase or less. And so for broadcasting, streaming on the internet, devices are getting smaller. And now there's even a device that's about the size. There's a couple of devices that are about the size, a little bit larger than this one, that will allow streaming almost like a TriCaster, Minicaster. So we hope to get a test unit on that. We've contacted a couple of times. I think they've got some delivery challenges trying to get those units out. But so everything seems to be getting smaller. But this PC was certainly a hot deal. I know it was all over the news here in the U.S. and I believe there in the U.K. as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is seen as a big deal. I think that is fantastic, because we need, not only do we need people to go and become engineers, etc., but it is just good fun, and I think it boosts confidence. If you do a little bit of programming, and the reason that it is called the Pi, I am told, is because it used the Python programming language, and it wasn't because of 3.14, etc. And it is, I think it's just really, really exciting. And I was disappointed not to be able to order one, because it does take me back to a long time ago, as when I was, built my first computer. I mean, this isn't, revolutionary. There have been small computers before, but I think what they have done here is they have sort of really simplified the device. But because they have decided that it's going to be a mass market device, in millions, they've been able to get the price right down. And I think we will see people using these basically as embedded controllers. And I've been sitting here, today thinking, well, if we could have a dedicated controller just to do that, wouldn't that be great? And $30 or £30 for something that you can quickly put to use is going to be great. So I think this is a really significant announcement. And maybe even spawn some shows on the internet about using it. I'm sure that's going to happen as well.
I agree completely. Well, so that's great. Great to hear. That we can pick one of those up hopefully in the next coming weeks or months. One of the other things that I found cruising around the internet this week was a Mac application. We're big proponents of AirPlay, screen sharing, screen mirroring, and a new application that was released this week is called Reflection. Now, the Reflection app is an installable app on the Apple operating system onto Mac OS 10, and it sits there and resides and actually turns the Macintosh into an AirPlay ready device. So your iOS device, generally running 5.01 and above, I believe, so iPhone 4S's and iPad 2s and above, can actually send AirPlay device to the Macintosh, which is great because I think the new version, Mark, of the Apple operating system will have this built in, right? I believe we'll have that this summer, right?
Well, that's what we're hearing. So this is obviously for those of you with Mac devices, and this AirPlay, as Vance has said, is the ability to basically to send your data. Apple use it, for instance, on the Apple TV. So if you have an iPad, you can, with a video on, you can actually send that to your Apple TV and watch it on your TV, for example. Right. There are some devices that use it if you're making programs, videos, products from new tech such as the TriCaster have sort of the AirPlay receiver technology built into it, and so that's what this app does. It turns the MacBook or your iMac into an AirPlay receiver.
Exactly. So I just installed it. I've got it on a couple of my Macs, and I installed it on a MacBook Pro, an older MacBook Pro, and you can see that it shows an image almost of a border of my iPad, which, by the way, is in landscape mode. And you can see that I am now panning left and right with this. Now, I've not been able to figure out how to get it full screen, but I am mirroring everything that is on my iPad, and it is wireless. So I'll do a screen. Let's see here. I'll flip over, and you can see that I have the iPad here, and there is the screen. And so as I move these, go back to this, there it is there. So I'm moving along, and you're actually seeing things now. A couple of things that I've noticed is some of the applications on this, even though it's very, very fluid, very clean, that some of the applications cause this application called Reflection to stop. I don't know exactly which do and which do not. Let's just try one. Let's see if I can find one here real quick. Let's see. I was going to try Google Earth, but I don't know. That may bring it down. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here's Google Earth. Starting on my iPad. Of course, and it's taking a long time on my iPad. So there's Google Earth. And, of course, it's spinning down into the U.S. Don't know where it's going to end up. But as you can see, it seems to be working fine. So, oh, my goodness. I recognize that. So, anyway. Peter, that is a compound that resembles close to where I live. So
yeah. That video was pretty good, and I'm just obviously watching it on the Skype video that you're sending back to me.
Right.
But that seems
no, it's very fluid. I mean, I'm actually just moving my finger right along on Google Earth, and zooming and spinning, and yeah. So it's and that's a pretty updated picture, by the way, too. So anyway, so anyway, that's this week's kind of iOS app. You can see I have it on the iPad, and so you could use screenshots. You could use that for video recording. You could use it for a number of things. I think AirPlay on the Mac is one of the largest without having wires. Okay, because the big thing is you want to take content that you have on this device or on the laptop or desktop and be able to throw it to other locations. And this really caught my eye. Reflection is the app, and if you notice, and I did tell you that if you turn it into portrait,
I was going to ask what happens when you go into portrait.
It turns into portrait, and of course it renegotiates. So
I'm wondering whether it's only showing that size on the screen, because that's showing the actual pixel count, isn't it?
It is, right. And that's
the iPad's 1024 by 768 or whatever, or something like that, isn't it?
Right, and the iPhone is even smaller, but it's very high resolution. And that was one of the things I was mentioning is I have not figured out if there's a way to get it to full resolution.
Because that would be fantastic for presentations. You can just
exactly
walk around and then you can just swipe your presentation.
Exactly, and it's brand new this week. It was just released. It is an application for Mac. Again, it is not an iOS app. Some of the preferences, I don't know if it'll allow me to do preferences while we're actually sending to it. So it says optimize for any device. So we can change resolutions here to 1920 by 1080 or to the iPad resolution. So I wonder what happens if I hit high res 1080. What do you think would happen if I did that?
Go on. Then we'll move on to the next topic.
All right, excellent. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when I hit done. It may just bungle everything up. I don't know. Yeah, frames per second, 447. Hasn't changed anything on the resolution there, but at any rate, still a pretty neat app. So you could add AirPlay to any device up until this point, I believe, and I say to any Mac OS 10. Up until this point, I believe there was only one lady that was a Mac developer that had something similar to this that was very difficult to configure. But I'd use that. I forgot the name of it. But this is a pretty neat deal. I believe the fee for this application is $19.95 for one copy and $39.95 for 5 copies for the family pack. And then with
that's answered my next question. So it's not in the App Store because they can't do that in the App Store.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right. It's only available for download. Actually, it's in the Mac App Store, but not in the iOS App Store, I think.
Okay, but if it's in the Mac App Store, you can't limit the number of downloads, can you?
That's right.
Maybe the single user version is the single. But
no. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. I just clicked on buy. You're exactly right, Mark. It is only via the designer's website. Right. It is, and you actually select the number you want, add to cart, and buy it, and that's what happens. And they do give you a reduction in exactly.
So there may be people watching and saying, well, Windows users saying, what's the App Store? So just very quickly then, what Apple have done is to create a store for applications for the Mac, for OS X. So if you're used to buying applications on a Android phone from the Android store, or buying things from iTunes, it's really a similar thing. But the Apple, obviously, they control it. They can impose some rules and regulations around it. Some are good, some are not so good, and obviously they take a share. I think it's 30% of the price of the app. But it is a great way of easily buying apps. It just downloads and installs them for you. But one of the things is that if you buy it, with your with your Apple account, you can install it on the number of any number of machines that you own. So if you have a MacBook Pro, which is a Apple laptop, and an iMac, a desktop, you buy it once, install it, you log it onto the other machine, you go into the App Store, you see what you bought, and you can install it there as well. So from a usability and friendliness, and a lot of people I think it's a little bit safer buying apps through the App Store. I'm not sure if that really has been demonstrated, but it certainly makes you feel better about buying them. So, sorry, I went off at a tangent there, Vance. That's what the App Store is, because people in the Windows world probably haven't heard about it.
Well, that's a good point. And on the Windows side, I believe there are also app stores in creation on the Microsoft side. Next week, this coming week's new buzz, I guess, is the potential release of the iPad 3. So, Mark, you got one on order yet? You're going to order one. You're going to order one Wednesday. I believe Wednesday the 7th at I think
10 o'clock.
10 a.m. Yeah, that's right. So
Pacific, yeah.
2 and 7, right? So 10 on the West Coast, 2 East Coast, and 7 UK time, I believe, or UTC, right?
Yeah. So we'll see. I bought the iPad 1. I have the iPad 2. And actually, one of my kids last week said, "Hey, Dad, I understand there's a new iPad coming out, and I just want to register my claim so that when you buy the iPad 3, Mum gets the iPad 2, and then I get the iPad 1. But I'm not sure it's going to work that way, or whether I'll wait and see. I'm pretty enthusiastic. I don't want to turn this into an Apple show, but I am probably the iPad is probably the best device I have, bar none. I just love it. If I could only have one bit of electronics, it would probably be the iPad. I enjoy it that much. The rumors that we have heard, the invites have gone out for this event next Wednesday. Rumors we've heard are it's going to have a much more high resolution display. It's going to have a faster processor. There's talk that they might be doing away with the one button that is on the front of it. I don't know. I think the display on the iPad is pretty good. Is cracking. I don't look at it and think, oh, this is a poor display. I really would prefer higher resolution. I think once you get into wanting 1080p videos and maybe using AirPlay to stream them to things, it would be nice perhaps to be able to use them on that. But I don't see that as a big inhibitor. So for me, I think it would have to have something that really offers something new and different that was a compelling reason to buy it. Because I think the iPad, and I used to use the iPad 1 and the iPad 2, and to be honest, I can't really see much difference between them. Obviously, the iPad 2 has got cameras, but I think it'd have to be something compelling to make me buy one straight away. No doubt I'll get one down the road.
I agree. So we have a rumor, kind of a roundup for it. So Retina display. I agree that I think the display on the 2 is great. I have a 2 and a 1, and I probably will get the 3 as well. What do you think about this Mac rumor that 9.7, a smaller screen size? What do you think?
Well, I think there've been rumors of this 7.9. Is that the one you meant, or as opposed to the existing?
Well, actually, they're saying 9.7 is confirmed. So I guess that's not the smaller one. I know I've seen the rumors for smaller ones.
Yeah,
but
well, there have been rumors about a smaller device. Again, I can't really see the point, apart from the fact some people say, well, if you have a big pocket and you have a 7-inch device, something like the Galaxy Tab, you can sort of drop it into a pocket. But I guess maybe as I get older, I like things being a little bit bigger. The iPhone screen is okay. But I like bigger screens. So I don't know. I guess the Amazon Fire, which still isn't released in Europe, or I think it's only available in the US. What size screen is that? And I know that has sold. That's probably the closest competitor.
That's about
to
a
the
7.
iPad.
I'm not sure exactly. I've got one, but I believe it's a 7-inch. I'm not sure. Now look, they are also saying that it could go up $80 from $499 to $579. That's another rumor. They've got all kinds of. This is a put together of all of the rumors. I believe they've got all of the different processor, designations. I think everyone was hoping for the A6, I believe, which is a quad core, I believe, the A6, and I think this one's going to have an A5X. I guess I don't know. That's what some of the rumors.
But I think Apple have it right. You see, people who come from the PC world tend to always talk speeds and feeds.
Right.
You want an Intel i7 960 or Sandy Bridge and Apple look at it from the user's experience. How does it work? So I don't care what processor it has. I don't care.
That's a very good point. I agree with you completely on that.
Yeah, whether it's an A5X, A6, does it do what it says on the tin, and is it responsive, et cetera, et cetera.
That's an excellent point. I agree with that completely. It doesn't really matter how much RAM, what size processor it's got, and if it looks great, it shows you fonts, it does nice videos. I've got the Infinity Blade, I believe, game that had some super deal on it. I guess I'm not a gamer, but I downloaded that on a one-day special, and the graphics resolution on the iPad 2 and the audio, both the audio and the video on the iPad 2 is incredible, just incredible. And if they go to the 1080p instead of the 720p that we now have in the iPad 2. It's just going to be more stunning. I don't know that I buy they don't have a button. I think I'm with you there that, it's probably a landscape picture. Some of the rumor mill photos showed the icons very high resolution without a button. I don't know, maybe not. Apple tends to like things clean and neat, and Steve Jobs always said he didn't like power buttons and didn't like too many buttons. So that's kind of that.
So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be interesting. I always like Apple keynotes. There's also rumor, of course, that they're going to bring out a new Apple TV.
Exactly.
And which the Apple TV at the moment is 720p, not 1080. And maybe that would make sense to improve that. And maybe there's some linkage between the two. And I think that's an interesting device. And even for people, if you're not into Apple products, do check out the Apple TV, because for $99, I mean, it's 99 or 101 pounds now, which is infuriating. That makes it $160. Ridiculous pricing in the UK, but it is a great device for being able to play content. Now, of course, you have to get the content from the Apple infrastructure using iTunes, etc., etc. But Netflix is now on it, even in the UK. I play videos that we've imported into iTunes, so it's a great box. So I've got 3 of those, and I look forward to seeing probably almost to see if they're going to do anything with the Apple TV more than the iPad.
Me too.
Because the iPad is just so good that I don't know what they can do that would compel me to go out and buy one.
Right, and until this reflection app, we were using an Apple TV, the Apple TV 2, up in the studio, and airplaying content from that into the Apple TV, and then up through the TriCaster. So I agree with you. I think the Apple TV. Do you think it's going to be the small hockey puck size, the small unit, or do you think it's going to be the 42-inch TV? I think there's 2 schools on that. What do you think on that?
I think it's going to be the small unit. I think it'll be whether it'll be that unit or a little bit bigger. I would hope they'll take it up to 1080, which people have been waiting for. There's talk. I know that people have hacked it, jailbroken it, as they call it in the Apple world, to open it up so you can can actually run apps on it. So we know it's capable of it, but put a faster. I think one of the things they found is that it was a little bit slow, so maybe they're going to make it faster and open it up and be able to buy apps for it, so you can get your Netflix app or your app for the for American football or all these other apps that I have to that are on the top of the list, even in the UK, that we have to scroll through to get to something that we might be interested in.
Right. So anyway, yeah, that's right. This is certainly not an Apple show. We do enjoy our Mac and Apple products, both at the TTFN studio and here at Tech Ag. And so we don't want to turn into a Mac show, but we do enjoy it, and we do think that Apple is leading the task. Of course, there were some reports this week that Apple's larger than a lot of countries as far as their revenue.
There was a great joke that it wasn't true that Apple was going to be buying Greece.
Right. They might think it to be a bad investment, but that's another story. I don't know.
Maybe, Apple have got just under $100 billion.
That's incredible. That is
incredible. They had their press conference in the last week where they were talking about where they're asked, well, as always, what are you going to do? Because a lot of the shareholders would like them to give that back to the shareholders. Right. And having said that, the share price still goes up and up, which isn't sort of normal logic. And Tim Cook said they continue to look at what to do with the money. I don't think there was talk about them buying studios to buy source material. I can't see them doing that at all. I don't think they want to keep it simple and just focus.
Right.
But you have to watch what they're doing. And there's also talk that, and there was a little bit of a slip up earlier this week, that maybe we're going to see Microsoft Office for the iPad.
Exactly.
And maybe that will be announced on Wednesday as well.
We did see a Photoshop app from Adobe this week, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's supposed
Which
to be...
which was announced, then pulled, and then put back out again because everybody knew it had been announced once. So, you know.
Right, right. So that's interesting. So yeah, I think on the Microsoft front, obviously Microsoft did some more, hoopla on Windows 8, and there's a couple of different schools there as well. Do they go with the tiled version, or it'll just be interesting to see what happens when Windows 8 comes out. I've heard a lot of opinions about people. We're not going to get deep into 8 today because of our time constraints, but I've heard a lot of people saying, "Hey, Windows 7 is like Windows XP. It's solid, it has good drivers, it works nice." And
Yep.
why would we update to 8, not having all of the stuff when we've worked so hard to get 7, which was leaps and bounds above Vista. I think everyone had problems with Vista, almost like Microsoft ME, but so they kind of, it seems like about every other cycle, Microsoft seems to have a little bit of a problem, whether it's ME and then XP. 98 was decent, 95 and 98 were good, and so it's amazing just in the last week to hear, hey, why should I go to Windows 8? But we'll talk about Windows 8 a little bit more in the coming days. But as we wrap up, Mark, each week, we talk a lot about things that are difficult. We run into difficult things, and it can be as simple as just plugging in an HDMI cable on your home theater system. You got a cable, it's 2 meters long, 6 feet long, 9 feet long, 3 meters long, whatever. You plug it in from point A to point B, and you get a black screen. So one of the segments that we would like to get to in this show is, why is everything so hard? Why can't it just work? When it says it's an HDMI cable, you got an HDMI port, you plug it in, and it works. Now, I got a little whimsical this week in our alpha, as Mark called it, 0.0000001 episode. So I got a little whimsical and just wanted to show something that shows how hard things can be, and also maybe some success in that. So let's check this out. So, an NBA star, like I said, a little whimsical, just a little bit of fun to end up the show today, just to say, look, you keep at something and you'll probably get it. That's been some of our experience in the studios and with technology in general. So just kind of wanted to throw that in as a little bit of fun. Hope you enjoyed that, Mark. And, we're going to wrap up this week's show. And I appreciate you being here with me and trying this out. So we'll hopefully, make this a better show as time goes on. So thanks a lot, and we'll have other shows for folks to take a look at. So
that's great. I really enjoyed it. It's good to be talking in a show about something a little bit broader than some of the stuff that I do or we do on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. And I think there is a real need for information out there. We have played with a lot of things, and hopefully we can impart some useful information and maybe help a few people with some of the challenges they've been facing.
I agree. We're going to wrap it up for this week, but thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.